Hallo zusammen! When you're watching this video, I think it's pretty safe to say that you're a Rammstein fan of any way, shape or form, I guess, and so am I. However, some of you might also have asked yourselves, okay, what is the origin of the Rammstein sound? Why do they sound the way they do? And that's the reason why in this video we're not gonna talk about Rammstein specifically, but more about another German band who's also become very successful in recent years. It's Umf. What do Umf have to do with Rammstein, and why is the band Umf important when it comes to the sound of Rammstein? Let's find that out. Every now and then, Rammstein keep naming Umf as one of their early and main influences, according to guitarist Flux in 2008. Rein von der Musikgeschichte her ist es so, dass wir uns vor 20 Jahren gegründet haben und Rammstein eben erst Mitte der 1990er Jahre. Die waren bei uns auf den Konzerten und haben ihre ersten Demos bei uns abgeliefert. Netterweise erwähnen sie uns in Interviews auch immer wieder als Einflüsse und Inspirationsquellen. The German NDH or metal band Umf was founded in Wolfsburg, literally translated Wolf's Castle, a pretty rad name for a German town if you ask me, in 1989, meaning about 5 years prior to Rammstein. It's also a pretty well-known German town, which is widely associated with the popular German car manufacturer VW, VW in German. Ever since their formation, Umf has been and still is a three-piece rock or metal band with additional live musicians completing their sound. In the early 1990s, they basically became the fathers of the NDH genre, the Neue Deutsche Härte, the new German heaviness or harshness, and in fact many music critics referred to them as a key element in forming this subgenre back then. Singer Dero Goy not only sings and usually writes the band's lyrics, he also plays drums on studio recordings, which is an instrumental combination he also shares with, well, you might have guessed it already, Till Lindemann of Rammstein, because in fact he also played drums in the pre-Rammstein rock band First Arsch, First S. The other two band members are Crab. No, not what you think, that's his stage name. And Flux, not Flux, who both play guitar, respectively bass guitar. As of 2019, the band has released 13 studio albums, with the first few albums featuring English songs and the vast majority of later songs being in German. Their very first self-titled album was released in 1992, and it was still very much an EBM album, electronic body music that is, compared to later records. And even though their first single, Ich bin du, I am you, was a little international hit already, it was in the US top 10 independent charts around 1992 and 1993, it was only with the release of their second record, Sperm, released in 1994, that they were and are widely considered as the German band that laid the foundations of a subgenre as a whole. On this more or less crossover-like album, they included several influences from the likes of Pantera or Sepultura. Talking about this time frame, we're also talking about a, back then, still quite fresh and innovative approach to rock and metal music with electronic sounds that would later be categorized under the name of Neue Deutsche Härte. And even though Rammstein certainly are the most well-known international band belonging to that genre, Umf have been doing pretty well in both Germany and other countries for many years too, and especially so since their general breakthrough album Wahrheit oder Pflicht from 2004. This and their follow-up success has also led to the band re-recording their most popular tunes for the English compilation album Truth or Dare in 2010. The title is a direct equivalent to Wahrheit oder Pflicht in English, yet this compilation album features re-recorded English versions of songs from various different Umf albums. So it's not a one-on-one English version of that 2004 album I just mentioned. And honestly, when I think of Umf and had to name my favorite album by them, I'd probably also name that just mentioned 8th album Wahrheit oder Pflicht from 2004. This album features their most popular song to date, respectively their breakthrough single, which is also the first Umf track I've ever heard and listened to, Augen auf. The title Augen auf can get translated to Eyes Open, but in the context of the song, it rather refers to the children's game Hide and Seek and the reference Augen auf, ich komme, ready or not, I'm coming. Interestingly enough, similar to Sonne bei Rammstein, counting up to 10 is a key factor in this track. Because here a boy counts to 10 in German and underlines the Augen auf reference. In hindsight and from my own experience, the song was so successful and got massive airplay on both German radio and music TV, it also seemed to appeal to people in my family or to family friends who normally aren't that much into rock and metal for the most part. Another really good tune from that era, which has become an classic, is the collaboration Brennende Liebe, Burning Love, with the Austrian electro-rock band L'Âme Immortelle, which mainly consists of Thomas Reiner and Sonja Kraushofer. This song has a very dense mood to it, and the impressive music video, which reminds me of the whole Frankenstein storyline, really accompanies the track very well. Here, Sonja Kraushofer shares singing duties with Dero in a haunting way. Another clear recommendation from my part. And as a side note, the 2004 L'Âme Immortelle album Gezeiten, Tides, is an interesting musical experience too. Good examples would be the rather light and echoey type, ambient-like title track Gezeiten and the single 5 Jahre, 5 years. They also have quite a couple of songs in English. At the age of 13, back in 2004, when Augen auf was released as a single, I was both astonished by the music and also the pretty cool and atmospheric music video, which I highly recommend watching as well. I basically bought the album right away and have listened to on and off ever since. That leads me to another aspect I've always enjoyed about which is their production and production quality. Even though usually their songs aren't overly complex when it comes to the arrangements, their sound is really thick, really powerful and really energetic. And especially on this album you can hear a thick wall of sound, a thick wall of guitars in that sense. And, well, pounding drums as well, so that really works in favor of the energetic expression in the songs and how they actually, well, burst into your ears. I especially like their two direct follow-up releases, Glaube, Liebe, Tod, Faith, Love, Death, and Monster, Monster 2. For instance, one of my favorite tracks on Glaube, Liebe, Tod and also a single is Die Schlinge, The News, which, by the way, they recorded with Apocalyptica. The deep and also tempting kind of vocals by singer Dero really fit well with the overall heavy sound. Depending on the context, he can sing in both a vulnerable and also a more powerful, harsh way. In direct comparison to Till Lindemann from Rammstein, Dero Goy from rather tends to lean towards a more, well, vibrato-oriented style, without sounding overly classical though. He doesn't roll the R, but he is equally expressive in terms of style and also the lyrics, I'd say. Last but not least, I'd like to point out a few other similarities and differences between and Rammstein that might be interesting to know. For instance, both bands have a direct or indirect connection to the German punk cult figure Nina Hagen. The Finnish cello rock band Apocalyptica recorded a cover of Rammstein's Seemann, Sailor, with her, for instance, and also a David Bowie cover of Heroes with Till Lindemann in German, by the way. And have recorded their popular single Das Fieber, The Fever, as a duet with her. Both bands have also recorded songs in English, although when it comes to Rammstein that's rather a rarity, with the exception of parts in Pussy or the Depeche Mode cover Stripped. Both bands' lyrics are pretty ambiguous for the most part and deal with several different topics from political hints, love, religious themes or what we Germans refer to as die Gesellschaftskritik, the social criticism. Both bands have had at least one #1 album in Germany. The first one for Rammstein was Sehnsucht in 1997 and the first one for actually was their new one, Ritual. As of early May in 2019, have recorded nearly twice as many studio albums as Rammstein have, and I don't say that in a judgmental way whatsoever. And with the release of the new self-titled Rammstein album on May 17th in 2019, both bands will have a song titled Sex in their repertoire. As I've mentioned, released their latest studio effort Ritual, Das Ritual, The Ritual, in January of 2019. It's once again heavier than their two previous albums, I'd say. Apart from the already mentioned albums, I'd recommend giving the best of compilation Delikatessen from 2006 a spin or two. So can or should be considered a Rammstein sound-alike? No, definitely not. Even though you can hear similarities in the sound design and the structures of things, you can still hear many differences, especially in the singing, for instance. Even though both sing rather low, they have distinct voices that really differ from each other, and in general I'd say and Rammstein really complement each other musically, so that really fits. You can check out and find various YouTube and Spotify links to Oomph songs and Oomph albums that I've mentioned in this video in the video description down below. If you've enjoyed this video, that's great, and feel free to leave me know. Let me know, Feel free to let me know by leaving a like or a comment, or maybe even both. And feel free to share this video with other people as well. If you want to do that, that's greatly appreciated because that really helps the channel. Thanks for doing those things in advance, I highly appreciate that. And thanks for watching everyone. I'm your Vlog Dave. Tschüss und bis zum nächsten Mal.